Your 30s are the most critical decade financially, but they're also the most dangerous. This is the decade when most people make irreversible mistakes that destroy their ability to build wealth for the rest of their lives. It's a trap disguised as success. You're earning more than ever. You feel established. You think you've made it, so you upgrade everything. Bigger house, nicer car, expensive lifestyle. And suddenly you're locked into a financial prison you can't escape. By the time you hit 40, it's too late. The decisions you make in your 30s, career, housing, lifestyle, debt, family, determine whether you become wealthy or stay broke forever. I'm Kyle, and today I'm exposing the 30s trap. Why this decade is make or break, what mistakes people make that destroy wealth building forever, how lifestyle inflation becomes permanent, and what you need to do differently if you're in your 30s right now. If you waste your 30s, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Let's dive in. The 30s trap is simple. This is the decade when income grows significantly, but so do expenses, obligations, and lifestyle expectations. In your 20s, you're earning $40,000 to $60,000, living modestly, renting cheap apartments, driving old cars. But in your 30s, your salary jumps to $70,000 to $100,000 plus. Suddenly, you can afford things you couldn't before. Society tells you this is making it, time to upgrade. So you buy a house with a $2,500 a month mortgage. You finance a $45,000 car with a $600 a month payment. You move to a nicer neighborhood. You start dining out regularly. You take expensive vacations. Your expenses explode from $40,000 a year to $80,000 to $90,000 a year. And here's the trap. These aren't temporary expenses, they're permanent. The mortgage is 30 years. The car payment is 6 years. The lifestyle becomes normalized. By your late 30s, you're earning 6 figures, but saving nothing because expenses consume everything. You're trapped in the high-income, broke cycle, and escape is nearly impossible. Here's why your 30s are harder than your 20s for wealth building. First, lifestyle expectations escalate dramatically. In your 20s, living with roommates and driving a beater is acceptable. In your 30s, society expects you to have a house, a nice car, and a grown-up lifestyle. This pressure is overwhelming. Second, major life expenses hit. Weddings, $30,000 average, kids, $250,000 plus to raise, houses, $300,000 to $500,000 purchases, and career investments, graduate degrees, certifications. These aren't optional, they feel mandatory. Fourth, time constraints multiply. In your 20s, you have energy and flexibility. In your 30s, you're juggling career, relationships, family, health, and social obligations. There's no time to optimize finances. Fourth, peer pressure intensifies. Your friends are buying houses and cars. Your family asks when you're settling down. Your partner expects certain standards. Resisting this pressure requires immense willpower. Most people cave, inflate lifestyle, and destroy their wealth-building capacity permanently. Let's talk about the biggest trap, housing. In your 30s, everyone tells you to buy a house. Renting is throwing money away. Build equity. It's a good investment. So you buy a house with a $400,000 house, with a $320,000 mortgage at 6% interest. Your monthly payment is $2,500, principal plus interest, plus taxes, plus insurance, plus maintenance. Before buying, you were renting for $1,200 a month and saving $1,500 a month. Now you're house poor. The extra $1,300 a month in housing costs eliminates your savings capacity. You tell yourself you're building equity, but the reality is brutal. In the early years of a mortgage, most of your payment is interest, not equity. You're paying $1,800 a month in interest and only $700 towards principal. Meanwhile, if you'd kept renting for $1,200 and invested the $1,300 difference, you'd have $650,000 in 25 years at 8% returns. The house might appreciate to $650,000, but after selling costs, you net similar amounts, except one path kept you flexible and wealthy, while the other locked you into debt and stress. The second trap is car financing. In your 30s, you feel you deserve a nice car. So you finance a $45,000 SUV for 6 years at 5% interest. Your payment is $710 a month. Over 6 years, you pay $51,000 total, and the car is worth $18,000 when you're done. You lost $33,000. But the real cost is opportunity cost. Investing $710 a month for 30 years at 8% becomes $1 million. That nice car cost you $1 million in future wealth. Meanwhile, buying a $10,000 used car cash and investing the $41,000 difference plus the $710 a month you're not paying turns into $1.3 million over 30 years. This single decision, reliable used car versus financed new car, is the difference between retiring wealthy or broke. But in your 30s, the social pressure to drive something respectable is intense. Most people cave in, finance the car, and destroy their financial future without realizing it until it's too late. The third trap is lifestyle inflation becoming permanent. In your 20s, lifestyle inflation is reversible. You can downsize, move back with roommates, cut expenses. But in your 30s, lifestyle inflation becomes locked in. Once you buy the house, you can't easily downsize without losing money on transaction costs. Once you have kids, you can't reduce childcare expenses. Once you move to an expensive neighborhood, moving back feels like failure. Once you upgrade your lifestyle, downgrading feels psychologically impossible. This is the trap. Decisions made in your 30s become permanent constraints. If you inflate lifestyle to match income growth, you lock yourself in to high expenses for decades. By your 40s, you're trapped. High income, high expenses, zero savings, no escape. The people who avoid this trap resist lifestyle inflation in their 30s. They keep living like they're in their 20s. Modest housing, cheap cars, frugal lifestyle, and bank every raise. By their 40s, they're wealthy and free while their peers are trapped. Here's why it's harder to build wealth after your 30s. Time. If you start investing at 25 and save $1,000 a month, you'll have $1.75 million by 65. If you wait until 35, you'll have $745,000, less than half. If you wait until 45, you'll have $297,000, barely enough to retire. The window to build wealth through compounding is your 20s to 40s. After 40, you're fighting uphill. Obligations. By your 40s, you have mortgages, kids, aging parents, and locked-in expenses. Your flexibility to cut costs and save aggressively is gone. Energy. Wealth building requires hustle, job switching, side income, learning new skills. In your 20s and 30s, you have energy and adaptability. After 40, this becomes exponentially harder. Habits. By your 40s, your financial habits are set. If you spent 20 years inflating a lifestyle and saving nothing, changing is nearly impossible. The 30s are the last chance to establish wealth-building habits before they calcify. Here's what you need to do if you're in your 30s. First, resist the house trap. Rent if renting is cheaper than buying. If you buy far below what you can afford. Aim for 15 to 20% of gross income on housing, not 30 to 40%. Second, avoid car financing entirely. Buy an $8,000 to $12,000 used car cash. Drive it for 10 years. Invest the difference. Third, resist lifestyle inflation ruthlessly. When income grows from $60,000 to $90,000, keep living on $60,000 and invest the extra $30,000. Fourth, delay major expenses if possible. Weddings don't need to cost $30,000. Kids are expensive but manageable with discipline. Graduate degrees aren't always necessary. Fifth, prioritize savings over status. Your peers will judge you for driving a beater and living modestly. Ignore them.
They'll be broke at 60 while you're retired at 50. Sixth, track net worth monthly. Make it your obsession. Seventh, increase income aggressively. Job switches, side hustles, skill building. Your 30s are peak earning growth years. Exploit them.
Let's compare two people. Person A turns 30 earning $70,000. They buy a $350,000 house, mortgage $2,200 a month, finance a $40,000 car, $650 a month, upgrade lifestyle, dining out, vacations, clothes, and inflate expenses to $65,000 a year. They save $5,000 a year. By 40, they have $75,000 saved. By 50, they have $250,000. By 65, they have $650,000, not enough to retire comfortably. They work until 70 and live modestly in retirement. Person B turns 30, earning $70,000. They keep renting, $1,200 a month, buy a $10,000 used car cash, maintain modest lifestyle, and keep expenses at $40,000 a year. They save $30,000 a year. By 40, they have $450,000. By 50, they have $1.2 million. By 55, they're financially independent and retire early. Same starting salary, same opportunities, but person A fell into the 30s trap. Person B avoided it. The difference was discipline during one decade. The brutal reality is that most people waste their 30s. They upgrade everything, lock in high expenses, and destroy their wealth-building capacity. By 40, they realize their mistake, but it's too late. They're trapped in high-income, high-expense lives with no flexibility. They tell themselves they'll get serious about saving later, but later never comes because obligations multiply. By 50, they're panicking about retirement. By 60, they're accepting they'll work until they die. This isn't bad luck. It's the predictable consequence of wasting the most critical wealth-building decade. The 30s are your last chance. If you're 28 to 32 right now, you have a 5-year window to set your financial trajectory for life. If you make the right choices, resist housing trap, avoid car debt, keep expenses low, and save 30 to 40%, you'll retire wealthy. If you cave to pressure and inflate lifestyle, you'll work forever. Choose wisely. Here's what people who escape the 30s trap do differently. They ignore social pressure completely. They don't care what peers, family, or society thinks about their modest lifestyle. They rent cheaply or buy far below their means. They drive old, paid-off cars for 10-plus years. They cook every meal at home. They avoid expensive vacations. They say no to weddings, kids, and graduate degrees that don't make financial sense. They bank every raise. 100% of income growth goes to savings, 0 to lifestyle. They track net worth obsessively and optimize every expense. They increase income through aggressive job switching and side hustles. They invest 30 to 50% of gross income consistently. By their late 30s, they have $200,000 to $400,000 saved. By their mid-40s, they're approaching $1 million. By 50, they're financially independent and retire early. Same starting salary, same opportunities, but person A fell into the 30s trap. Person B avoided it. The difference was discipline during one decade. At the core, your 30s are a trap disguised as success. Income grows, but so do expenses, obligations, and lifestyle expectations. The decisions you make, housing, cars, lifestyle, debt, lock you into a financial trajectory that's nearly impossible to escape. If you inflate lifestyle to match income, you destroy wealth building forever. If you resist inflation and keep living modestly, you build wealth that compounds into freedom. Start today if you're in your 30s. Calculate your current savings rate. If it's under 30%, cut one major expense immediately. Downsize housing, sell financed car, eliminate discretionary spending. Automate investments, track net worth monthly, and commit to treating your 30s as the most critical financial decade of your life. Tell me in the comments, are you in your 30s? And what's one trap you'll avoid this week? This is your decade. This is your chance. Don't waste it.